Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Vern Squier, President and CEO of the CBICC. Glad to have everybody with us today. We're especially honored to have Sandy Barbour as our guest. We will officially introduce Sandy in just a moment into some comments. But again, welcome to the call. This is going to be a great experience to learn about NIL. We're putting this on as the CBICC in conjunction with the Happy Valley Adventure Bureau. With us is Fritz Smith. I'll let Fritz introduce himself. Fritz, over to you.
Good afternoon. Am I on mute?
No, I can hear you, Fritz. You're fine.
You can hear me? Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Fritz Smith, the CEO of the Happy Valley Adventure Bureau. And on behalf of our great staff and board and 360 member organizations, just want to echo Vern's thanks to Sandy Barbour and her staff for joining us today and helping to educate us about the brave new world of NIL.
Very good. Well, again, everybody, we have Sandy, some of her staff. There are many others on the call from all kinds of walks of life and members. We also want to acknowledge our partner organizations that are on the call as well. You've seen in material we've sent out. We have quite a number of partner groups, all with membership constituencies of some sort, and be it chambers or business associations, et cetera. And again, we thank those all for being on with us today. We're here to learn about NIL, name, image, and likeness, as the graphic has conveyed to you, and you've seen some of the pre-meeting publicity on this. With that, let's jump right to it. I want to introduce again Sandy Barbour, Vice President of Intercollegiate Athletics, and just does so much with the community. I think everybody knows Sandy. I'll dispense with further portions of the introduction, but she's very accomplished in her realm. Sandy, if you would, take us into NIL. Tell us what it's about.
Great, Vern. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And I certainly want to start from the top with a very sincere thank you to the CBICC and the Happy Valley Adventure Bureau. It's not a stretch at all for me to speak on behalf of students at Penn State, but specifically student athletes who we know that this will benefit. It will be incredibly helpful and valuable in their entrepreneurial pursuits involving name, image, and likeness. So a very sincere thank you. We know a lot of work has gone into this, and I know it will benefit students, and I believe very strongly that there will be a mutual benefit to our community as well. So appreciate that. My role today really is to talk about name, image, and likeness a little bit in general, some about the Pennsylvania law, because we are one of the states that does have an active law, and then specifically about Penn State's name, image, and likeness program that is called Statement. Make your statement. So let's go to the first slide here and really talk about when we put our program together. One of the things that the state law says is that student athletes, in particular, student athletes have to follow the university policy and procedure. So we had to put together a policy, and as we did that, we really relied upon these six principles, not only in putting together the policy, but how we've enacted it in the intervening now a little bit over 2 months since this went into effect on July 1st. So the first is that, and this was really the impetus behind name, image, and likeness from an NCAA standpoint, and that is to provide student athletes with the same opportunities as any students, as all students have across campus. Because prior to July 1, although the musical theater student or the biology research student had the opportunity to take advantage of their name, image, and likeness, student athletes did not. And as of July 1st, they did. So it was to provide the same opportunities that all students have. The second is that it's rooted in education. And this is a really simple one at Penn State. In everything we've done, everything we do for students, but frankly, obviously, I'm I'm charged with making sure that that occurs for student athletes, that it's rooted in education. And I've already used the word entrepreneur from the top. We've really looked at this as an entrepreneurial adventure, and that students certainly want to. Part of this is about being able to capitalize from a compensation standpoint, but really we believe that the huge benefit is in teaching them basically some additional life skills and being rooted in being an entrepreneur and what's that like and what's it take. So that's the second one. Thirdly, that name, image, and likeness and how we've crafted it really prepares any individual student athlete for maybe what they're going to encounter at the next level. Now, what do we mean by that? Well, if you're going to play professionally, if you're going to play in the NFL or the WNBA or the NBA or the W League, or perhaps you're going to play overseas in a number of our sports, there are going to be collective bargaining agreements. There are going to be league rules. And as we've crafted our policies, we've kind of followed some of those so that it's familiar to what they may encounter at the next level. A lot of that revolves around licensing and who owns the marks, or how do you access the marks of perhaps the club or the program that you're playing for. And similarly, the Penn State marks. The fourth is to get to yes. And that obviously is qualified by if able. You know, we want our student athletes to have as full an experience with this as they possibly can. So we have approached this in trying to be as flexible and as open as possible. We've put very few restrictions on them in terms of categories and some other things, but there are some basic rules in in both the Pennsylvania law and within our policy that student athletes have to abide by. Then the fifth is keep the main thing the main thing. And that's really around their academic and athletic obligations, that NIL activities do not trump going to class or going to practice or any of those kinds of things, and to keep them focused on why they're at Penn State and what the main things and the priority objectives are. Obviously very, very important to us as a campus, educationally important to us as athletic programs. And then finally, stay flexible. This came into being on July 1. It had been a very fast run up. We thought the NCAA rules were going to look like one thing. At the last minute, those were changed. Obviously, we got a Pennsylvania law at the last minute. And so we are committed to evolving. We're committed to listening to our student athletes, listening to our community, listening to campus, and making adjustments. And we've already shown not only the ability, but our willingness to do that. I think we're on our fourth revision of our Penn State policy because we've seen things that either needed clarification or frankly that we needed to change our position on. So those are kind of the guiding principles that we started with. So then if we could go to the next slide, which talks really about the NCAA NIL legislation. As I just referenced, there was a whole set of rules that were contemplated and I think were presented to the NCAA membership in January of 2021. Actually, we probably saw them first in the fall of 2020. And there were a number of rules and guideposts. Well, frankly, when the NCAA came out with its ultimate legislation, and it's calling its legislation temporary, but on July 1, actually, I think it was probably July 30th or June 30th that it came out. Very simple, very few rules. The NCAA extra benefit legislation still is in place. So kind of the two basic tenets there as they relate to NIL. Number one, any compensation, whether it be product or it be remuneration, must be in exchange for service. It can't just be, here, I'm going to pay you. I'm going to pay you for an appearance. I'm going to pay you to promote my product on your social media platforms. I'm going to pay you to do this, or that. So it must be in exchange for service. And then it must be considered fair market value. Now, to be honest with you, some of these markets are being set because they've not been markets before. But as you all as businesses think about maybe what to do in this space, think about what the justification is for the compensation. From an NCAA standpoint, may not be an inducement to enroll or remain enrolled at the institution. This is the recruiting piece. We as an association and a membership, trying to keep this out of recruiting. So please keep that in mind. And then name, image, and likeness activities cannot be contingent upon athletic performance. This is really important, and we've really hammered this home with our student athletes that this is they cannot promise playing time. Whatever the arrangement is, it cannot be based on how many points you score or how much playing time you have, etc. That is something that's out of the hands of the student athletes, other than their effort and their practice and their focus on that, but cannot be a part of any name, image, and likeness activities or arrangements. The Pennsylvania law that I've mentioned a couple of times has really its beauty, frankly, is in its simplicity. It's a very clean bill and law that I think has served our students and will continue to serve our students quite well. The law allows for student athletes to earn compensation from their name, image, and likeness. And of course, as always with laws, there are some exceptions. It does prohibit student athletes from earning compensation for name, image, and likeness in the following categories: adult entertainment, alcohol, casinos, and gambling, including sports betting, the lottery, and betting in connection with video games or online or mobile devices. The next category would be tobacco and electronic smoking products and devices, any prescription pharmaceuticals, any controlled or dangerous substances, and then the final category would be weapons, including firearms and ammunition. So those are the categories. And then really the key items, kind of key terms of the law. It allows the institution then to set its own policy and prohibit student athletes' involvement in name, image, and likeness activities that conflict with institutions' existing sponsors and institutional values. So if you look at our policy, there are very few, I believe the number at this point is 3 categories that we do not allow student athletes to participate in because they are our sponsors that we have exclusivity with in the categories. We also, and this is the Pennsylvania law, obviously, the student athletes must disclose to Penn State Athletics 7 days prior to the execution of a contract. And we've got an app that's been in place now for probably a week to 10 days that the student athletes actually are finding quite easy to use and really streamlining that disclosure process. The law does not grant the right to use the institution's marks, logos, or symbols. This is where the language in the law is a little bit misleading. It says that it does not grant the right, that the law itself does not grant the right automatically, but it also does not preclude the institution from granting the right to students. So again, going back to our first principle for Penn State, we have, any student on our campus could go to the trademarks and licensing office and file a request to use a particular Penn State mark or logo or symbol, and it would have to go through a regular process. Well, we're granting the same ability to student athletes for them to go to the trademarks office and do that. So that's one that gets a little bit complicated. Many of you on this call are current sponsors of Penn State athletics, and first of all, thank you. And in many of those cases, your sponsorship comes with the ability to use the trademarks, the Penn State trademarks, and you would be able to use those in conjunction with students because you've already been granted that right. So the trademark area is one where there are a lot of questions, and certainly we're here to help our students through that, and certainly here to help you as businesses to make your way through that with the marks and logos and symbols that are owned by Penn State. And then finally, in the Pennsylvania law, student athletes may utilize professional services providers. We all know that the NCAA has always been very sticky on agents, but this is opening it up a little bit for service providers, sometimes called agents, but only for their marketing expertise, accountant, attorney, etc., not for representing them at the next level. That law still, or that NCAA rule still stands in place. They must pay the going rate for the services, and the provider may not represent the student athlete in negotiations of professional sports. All right. The Penn State NIL policy key items. It applies to all student athletes currently enrolled at Penn State. The PA law permits collegiate institutions to limit the activities. So they're the excluded categories that we just talked about on the previous slide or previous two slides related to the Pennsylvania law. And then from a Penn State perspective, competing, we do not allow student athletes to participate in NIL activity in these following categories: the competing educational entities, political or political issue advertising, scholarships, grants, or financial aid, weight loss products or plans, any advertising that is considered crude, defamatory, or derogatory in nature, and any other product, services, or advertising that is inconsistent with Penn State values. And then, as I had mentioned before, the exclusive categories are banking, Nike apparel and footwear, so the apparel and footwear category, along with athletic equipment, and then the bookstore and Pepsi. I will say this, in the banking category, we have decided that as long as student athletes are not using the Penn State name or trademark, that they actually would not be excluded in that category. And then our process for review, again, it must be 7 days in advance. That's the Pennsylvania state law. Advance of the execution of an agreement. It must be requested through the Spry app that I mentioned before. And again, this will be a recurring theme that from a trademarks and licensing standpoint, that goes through the trademarks and licensing office on the campus that is not athletics. Certainly is involved with them, but that is not run by athletics. And we've been clear with our student athletes how to do that. And then again, many of you are already engaged in that process with your businesses already. All right, I think one more set of Penn State policy NIL key items. We have provided for our students resources and contacts for interpretive assistance that also you all I would certainly encourage you to access, both from an NCAA rules and a Penn State policy standpoint. That's through our compliance office, and that is we've set up a special email account for that. That's statement@athletics.psu.edu. All NCAA and Pennsylvania law guidelines apply. So again, there are, like the extra benefit rule from the NCAA perspective, that intersects with NIL, and those things all still apply. To utilize any Penn State marks must be properly registered and licensed by the university, and that's through our trademarks and licensing office. Here is one that I would certainly ask a favor, and that is that as you are working with students or engaging with students on any of this name, image, and likeness activity, that they are responsible for properly filing any required federal, state, and local income tax documents and necessary withholding. This is something that we have been driving home from an educational standpoint, but it's something that they're unfamiliar with. You know, they've been on their parents' tax returns or not been in an income position to have to file prior to now. This is one of those life lessons, and not unlike some of us in the adult world, particularly the idea of imputed income is one that they're finding hard to grasp. So any help you can provide there. We do have a couple of resources on campus, including some faculty members that are willing to help our students, and we will give them all the help that they want to engage with here. But that's an area that I see as challenging, if you will. And then finally, student athletes may secure representation to assist in reviewing and securing NIL activity. But they may not engage in any activity related to professional sport representation or contract negotiations. They have to pay the going rate. If an accountant in the community or a marketing representative in the community wanted to help student athletes, that's fantastic. But they would need to be charged the going rate there. Next slide. Said it a couple of times, but probably can't say it enough. The extra benefit legislation still applies. So these payments or benefits must be in exchange for a service provided by the student athlete, an appearance, an autograph, a social media post, endorsement, etc. Compensation must be for services actually performed, and the activity should be for compensation that is defensible as fair market value. Our statement program is our comprehensive NIL education policy and resource program. It aids students in their understanding of how to grow their brand through meaningful education programs with an emphasis on entrepreneurship. Like everything we've always done, I mean, many of these things around life skills and financial literacy and a little bit of entrepreneurship have always been elements of our student welfare and development program. But now, obviously, they take on new meaning in this name, image, and likeness era. And then we will continue to evolve with the ever-changing world. We probably could put a period right there, the ever-changing world, but also the ever-changing world of college athletics. And then not unlike, you can go to the next slide. Thank you. And not unlike what we found in the community through the CBICC and the Happy Valley Adventure Bureau. And again, can't thank Vern and Fritz and the staffs enough for all the effort that's gone into this. But we, on behalf of our students, there have also been tremendous resources across campus, some of which we have been using, like the Sokoloff-Miller Family Financial and Life Skills Center, but ones that have become a little bit new to us, like the Small Business Development Center. We've all heard of the Happy Valley Launchbox, but I would dare to say our student athletes had not really understood how that might benefit them and what their connection to that could be, and that's kind of come to light. And student legal services through Penn State Student Affairs. So lots of resources on campus, just like lots of resources in the community to help them through this entrepreneurial adventure. And as I said, student welfare and development has always been there for our student athletes. The NCAA compliance, although there are not as many guardrails as we thought there would be, certainly has, they are the center of the disclosure and the activity approvals. Our Varsity S and our football letterman organizations have been really helpful in connecting student athletes to our alumni network. We have a software program called Athlete Network, that gives them a really easy, streamlined way to get in touch with alumni from their sport or alumni across campus. I'd also add to that, obviously, the Alumni Association, the Penn State Alumni Association, our ICA marketing and licensing folks. Influencer is a content aggregator that we have used actually for probably about 4 or 5 years now. And now that too takes on new meaning for our student athletes in terms of accessing videos and pictures. Spry is our disclosure app, as well as where our policy will live for student athlete reference, as well as some educational materials. And then we've also discovered that 9 of our colleges offer an entrepreneurship and innovation minor, which some of our student athletes may want to take advantage of. And then various resources out of the Penn State Law School, both the Entrepreneurial Assistance Clinic as well as some legal services. So that is a really quick overview for you. Hopefully your head's not spinning too much, and that you took away some basic guideposts and how this might intersect with value for you as businesses to partner with our student athletes in name, image, and likeness activities. So please send questions to statement@athletics.psu.edu. And Vern, I've got unfortunately another meeting that I've got to run to, but I do appreciate this opportunity, and again appreciate this community and how you all embrace our programs and our student athletes, and appreciate your engagement in this particular area. So thank you all very much. I'll throw it back to you, Vern.
Thank you, Sandy, and thank you so much for your comments. Those were superbly done, by the way. And we'll continue on with the meeting, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Great. Thanks, everybody.
Take
Beat the
care.
Badgers.
Let's win, baby.
All right. So with that, great presentation. You have a little bit more information about NIL from inside out. Why are we here today in terms of CBICC HVAB? Let me give you just a quick recap, and we'll get into a visible result of the work that we've been doing. If we go back in time to May 20th of this year, Coach Franklin appeared on one of these Zoom calls to talk to the CBICC membership and other guests that were on the call. In that conversation, Coach asked us to, me and our group at large, to really engage in the adoption of and the acceptance of NIL in our community. We've been working since with HVAB and other partners to really try to put together a response that made sense. So think on two platforms. We need to socialize, if you will, the knowledge of NIL into our community. We're starting with you today with that presentation that Sandy just made. That will be made available on further. You've been hearing through our channels, and I say our channels plural, not only ours, CBICC, HVAB, our partner channels that are with us in this endeavor about NIL. To that end, it's really important that the community understands several things. First of all, the basic workings of NIL, to be sure. From our perspective as business organizations, it's really also important that we understand the impact that NIL can have in our community. We want to remain competitive, especially in the sphere of athletics, even though the NIL is not, it's focused on athletes. Students of all types and all disciplines can monetize themselves. Alumni can step into this realm yet again, but the focus today, as you might guess with Sandy, was athletes. And so to that end, they can monetize themselves. Think of them as micro businesses, each having to put themselves out there, hang out their shingle, if you will. They're having to try to arrange with businesses. There are no contract templates, broadly available at least. And so to that end, this is kind of a wild west when it comes to agreements. Handshakes, back of the napkin type stuff, back of the matchbook kind of deal. And so we want to bring more organization to that on behalf of you, the members, and for the students. But so our community can engage NIL in a way that leaves the university competitive when it comes to their endeavors, both in the athletic arena and in the scholar arena as well. We want Penn State to be competitive overall. And this isn't about just Penn State, though. What we're about to show you is a work product that transcends any one university, any one college or organization. This can be available for many people if they think they have the desire to monetize themselves and put themselves out for engagement by businesses and others. To that end, this site also, a website we're going to show you momentarily, is going to also feature opportunities for Zoom interaction internationally. This could go anywhere in terms of a business engaging a student. So I'm going to ask Nicole Yada from our staff at the CBICC Actually, I'm going to pause here for a moment. I'm going to go to Fritz. I want to, as far as we're introducing here, Fritz, if you've got some additional comment on importance of NIL, Sandy's comments, and then we're going to go to a presentation immediately following, showing you the website work product. But first, back to Fritz.
Yeah, thank you, Vern. And I think what I really want to emphasize is the economic aspect of this and the impact that we hope that this will have on the economy. And I want to thank all of our other partners that have come on to this call: Downtown Bellefonte Inc., Bellefonte Inter-Valley Chamber of Commerce, Shannon Valley Economic Development Partnership, East Penn's Valley Community and Business Association, Blair County Chamber of Commerce, Downtown State College Improvement District. I mean, what do we all have in common? We have shared responsibility for trying to protect and to stimulate the economy here. And at the HVAB, our particular focus is on stimulating the visitor economy. And I think what we're coming out of a particularly challenging time because of COVID, and the visitor economy suffered the most from this. And so we're sensitive to the recovery and the ongoing health of that sector of the economy here, which really touches every sector of the economy. And so to paraphrase James Carville, it's the economy, stupid, right? So we're sensitive to the fact that Penn State has always been in a very competitive environment when it comes to recruiting. And you look at some of the schools they play, and places like Northwestern and Ohio State, they're in larger communities where there's a large business community and therefore lots of opportunities for the athletes to monetize themselves, right? So it was incumbent upon us, we felt, to help. 2 years ago, we were in a visitor economy that had about $850 million in spending, and we were confident that we were on a path of a stretch goal, but achievable goal of $1 billion in spending. So much of that spending is fans in Beaver Stadium and at Bryce Jordan Center and at the many other great facilities at Penn State. And so it's important that Penn State continues to be successful in recruiting the kinds of athletes that can keep those stands filled and keep people in our restaurants and hotels and tourism attractions. So, I think I applaud Vern for immediately realizing that our organization's piece of this was potentially very affected by NIL. And so I think it's a great initiative. I think it's innovative. I haven't seen anybody else do it yet. I think there will be imitators, but I'm happy we're doing it and can't wait to get the community here engaged. And we'll do our part at the HVAB. Our staff is doing a lot of brainstorming about how we can take advantage of this. So we want to step up and be leaders and provide some interesting opportunities for the student athletes ourselves. Thanks, Vern.
Thanks, Fritz. And without further ado, let's get to the website, and then we'll be, from a housekeeping perspective, while Nicole Yada is making that appear as screen share. I'll also tell you, we'll hold questions until we get to the backside of her presentation, but we do have a time slot allocated for questions. So you can either put those in the chat group now or as we go through this presentation, if you would, please. Nicole.
Okay. So I've just made the site public. So if you were viewing it before, this did say coming soon. So now the public can access it fully. To start off, there's the sign up button here, which will stay here for incoming students and businesses to sign up. So if you're a business, you can go here, click that you are a business, select that you're a member of any of the organizations. This will allow you to have free access to the website. And then we just have other contact info to fill out. And we do have some business terms of use. We have them for the students and alumni signups as well. So you're able to review those before checking off. Agree that, or say that you're of 18 years of age or older, and that you would like to receive email and mobile communications from us. We also have a privacy policy for you to view and accept. So once you have all those checked off and filled out, you can click to register. The process is very similar for students and alumni. Students will have free access and can register. They have their own terms. And then same with alumni for filling out. So once you submit your sign-up form, you'll receive an automated email that will say this, just thanking you for completing step 1, which is the registration side, and that will be reviewing your submission. So once we look over your submission and see that you're saying who you are, or approving that you are who you say you are, we'll approve you all, and then you'll receive a second email here. So depending on if you're a student or alumni, follow the instructions on how to get a profile set up for people to start viewing you. So I'll go ahead and log in. So as a business, you can come to my resources up in the right-hand corner. And in that email, this is kind of reiterated here that this is step 2 to create your profile. So as a business, you can come in here, click to create your profile, and fill out all of the information, who you would want athletes to contact at your business for promotional opportunities, any social media handles. And then here you can check off the type of promotional opportunities that your business is interested in, and then submit. So once you submit this profile creation, your business will be listed in the registered businesses page. Which we started accepting people in today. So we've actually had somebody publish their profile. These other 3 here are examples. But so the Hyatt came on, did their business profile. So this is the picture they chose to submit, their about name, their promo interests. So if I'm a student logged on, I can come to the registered businesses page, view whoever I want to look at and see what kind of interests they have, what they're all about. And if they have any social media, we can view that. If I'm a student and I'm interested in contacting them directly, I can click here. And this just has all of his information to contact, promo interests. So after having your profile created as a business, you can also go over on the other side and view talent. So we can come to the student talent. So these are all examples right now. But once the student goes in, has the same process of profile creation, and they'll be populated on this page. So as a business, you can come here, see the student name, their graduation year, and the sport that they play. And here we'll just have a little bit more information about them, their major, and then their promotional interests. So if you're a business coming onto their page, you can see what they want. And then if you're interested in contacting them directly, that student will submit the email and phone number that they wish to be contacted at for promotional opportunities. So once we have the profiles created, I'm
Nicole,
sorry.
before we leave too far, the business section, if you don't mind, could you go back to the business profile? Just want to point something out to the folks, and it's at the end of the business profile where it asks about membership. Or it's not at the end of the profile itself. It's the where they're trying to register. So I just want, since many of you are with our partner organizations, I want you to make sure that this is something we cover in this business section. If you check a box of any of the organizations, this lets you move into and through the system. If you select one of the last two, you would have to be, there's another gateway that we'll be revealing here shortly, but I just want to make sure you may have seen this, may not have known quite what the distinction was, but if a business is not a member of any of the above, there's a portal in the back of the site we'll come to, we'll talk about that. They can have a subscription fee or join any of our organizations that are shown on the screen. Or if they're not sure of membership status, that may be resulting in some conversation we're going to have with them to help clarify which of these two levels they're in. Either they're a member or they're not. And we just wanted to point out, in fairness to everybody, that you know, this is the way we're structuring this. But again, if they're a member of one or more of these organizations, it lets them move without any additional cost into the system. Thanks, Nicole.
So yeah, if you are a business that is not a member of any of the organizations, or you're an alumni signing up, there's the subscriptions tab here. So you will be able to log in, but you won't have access to any of these other pages until you purchase a subscription. So here we have the alumni access and then business access for non-members.
And again, Nicole, I'll comment here for all the viewers on the call and those who may see this recording. You'll soon see that there's a public portion to the site where people can view calendar of events and things going on. Anybody going to happyvalleytalent.com could do that. But to get inside the system where they're seeing actually who's signed themselves up as businesses and who's signed up as students and athletes and alumni, that's more of an inner chamber, if you will, of the website, and that needs access. We didn't think it prudent that people could just, you know, get in there and kind of wander through the marketplace, so to speak, because other members, as a member value, have paid to belong to organizations that help make this happen. And so that's the reason for these additional access points and the associated charge. Thanks, Nicole.
Mm-hmm. So once you have your profile created, you as students and businesses or alumni can submit availabilities. So if you're a business and you have an event coming up that you're interested in having some student or alumni talent at, you can fill out this form here. The date of the event, what the any additional details. And then you can also share your profile page from the site. So whenever people are viewing the availabilities, they can visit your profile. And vice versa, if a student, say it's an alumni athlete in town for a weekend and they want to do something with a business, but they don't know who exactly to contact or who would be available, they could submit their availability here. And then as a business come on, see that this person is available these days, and read more about what they're interested in doing, and then you can go ahead and view their profile. So you could do this as a student or a business. And then once any talent and businesses make those connections, they are having an event that they would like to make public or known to the public, they can submit an upcoming event with just a description of who will be there, where it's at, when, and what will be happening. Submit that, And as soon as that is submitted, it will be populated on the upcoming events page. And this will be a public facing page. And here we have a sign up for any fans. So this is for people who aren't business owners, who aren't any talent, like student talent or alumni talent, but are interested in staying up to date on events and all that. They can just register to be updated. The upcoming event submission will populate here. So this is what the event would look like. And then you can just read more about what will be happening, location, time, and then you could share to let your friends know.
Nicole, again, well, thank you. In fact, you're going to go to the next page. Go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt. I just wanted all of our partners to see at the bottom of these pages, all the logos are appearing. So just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, these are all of the organizations that we are partnered with. And then if there is anybody traveling from out of the area, if they're interested in coming to one of these events, we have a link here for them to book lodging on the Happy Valley Adventure Bureau booking site. And then we do have some sample agreements. These will be downloadable, that will be coming very soon. So these are just examples for students and businesses and alumni to use if they wish, but this could also just be used as a guide.
I might comment while we're here, Nicole, if you just kind of can hold there or back on that image of the agreements.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Folks, there are two agreements, or sample agreements you may see appear here, would see appear. Live events being distinguished as it's a one-time event. It's something that happens, it's over. There's no, archiving of that event in any meaningful way, versus a recorded event, which, as you might guess, would have the possibility to be replayed. And this could even extend over to things, such as YouTube and other alternatives, electronic alternatives. So the suggested, and I say suggested, is just a sample agreement, makes some distinction between those two. Also, just beneath the coming soon, there'd be a clear notification that these are sample agreements. So if you as a business, especially, or students, alumni, et cetera, were to use the agreement, you're being counseled with a disclaimer there and an instruction to seek your own independent legal counsel or advice. And so for any attorneys and other resource individuals on the call, we're clearly pointing people outbound to get their own advice. But we did want something beyond that napkin, if you will, to have as a basis for you as businesses to start from and to use, at least, and I say use, again, pending your own advice and your own permissions you need inside your companies to even consider the sample agreement. Okay, Nicole, back to you.
Another option or something else that will be coming soon is a banner ad store. So businesses and students, if they would like, alumni, they can come on here, purchase a banner ad. So it could be like that Happy Valley fan sign up that popped up in the upcoming events page. It could be something like that, a pop-up banner at the bottom of the page or a sidebar. It could be promotional for a business, for an event, or for a student. So we will have that option soon. And then you will be able to view your purchased banner ads as well. Oh, and then we have our resources page for general resources. Just some Penn State disclosure information, how to get started. just a little bit about happyvalleytalent.com and some contact info. So I actually do have the button on the homepage that says how to get started links to right here. So if you're a first-time user of the site, you can click the how to get started. It'll direct you here. So if you're student talent, for example, you could click here. It just kind of tells you how to go through the steps. And then these links will take you directly to these pages. You won't be able to see these until you're signed up, but a link to the sign up page. And then you can click here. And this is kind of just a video of what we did at the very beginning of how to sign up. So you can full screen it, just kind of goes through what to fill out, the next emails you'll receive, etc. And that is about it.
Okay, Nicole, thank you very much.
Oh.
Well, folks, again, put your questions in chat if you have any. I'll just make some comments here. Fritz can jump in momentarily, but this site was created, as Sandy mentioned, the timeline has been very quick on this, trying to, achieve clarity of what we think are the rules. Everybody, there are no precedents to this, but in that NIL hasn't not happened this way in years prior. So this again is our work product, and I mentioned that in the context of CBICC and Happy Valley Adventure Bureau staff have collectively worked to plan the content. Nicole, who's been walking you through it, has brought it to life again with a team effort behind that. So we want to now take any questions or have any commentary you'd like to have.
We did have some questions, right?
There's one here, I guess. I apologize. I was looking down at the bottom is a new one. I'd already checked it off or looked at it. Marshall asked, approximately how many student athletes have taken advantage of this program at this point? What is the approximate dollar value of their contracts? Because they're independent in their nature, and students could be monetizing and athletes could be monetizing away from here, we really don't know. The athletics group will be getting that flow of contracts for approval or appearances for approval, that 7 and 14-day system that Sandy spoke of. As far as approximate dollar value, we can only give some examples that are word of mouth. It may range from, minor compensation, some modest dollars to several $1,000s for an athlete to appear at a place, depending on the length of time, what they're doing. It is just so, at this point, open-ended that there really is not a standardization being set, as in a dollars per hour for an appearance kind of standard. So this is where, if you as a business are going to contact a student or an athlete, that's part of the negotiations that you would engage in to come to terms on what, it's literally the who, what, when, where principle. So who do you want of the athlete group? Try to get them to, contract with you at a time, place, period of time to stay, and what function to perform. Again, appearance photos, could be a signing moment, just general signatures, being gained by general public, that kind of thing. So it's really all over the map. You see Irene's answering some of the questions in the chat group. Thank you, Irene. We'll take care of the partner organizations, the hyperlink on the logos. Yes, we're trying to get that to so you can connect to your website. Also, Nicole parked that at several different times. You saw the beginning of all the logos being present. She may take us there right now, but it's right here. they can click and get into the organizations and look at directories. So they being students, alums, general public, and so forth, those able to get to this point in the system will have access to all of our business directories. So let's say they were in there looking, a student or an athlete were looking for a particular type of restaurant or just restaurants in general. They could get in our directories and see who was there. So not only can the businesses and students see each other who's listed, but they could be searching for businesses who maybe haven't listed. And that's another advantage for you based on this system. There's a question from Bill. Are you aware of any legal challenges or restrictions on areas the university may impose under the PA Act? Not at this point as far as legal challenges, but again, the university is just trying to get square with what they think NCAA has jurisdiction over, how state law may work. It's so early at the front end. I don't know that there are many, again, precedents or any precedents really to be followed. Various restrictions do exist in the state law about where students can and cannot appear. You saw some of those in Sandy's presentation.
Question from Gary Brandeis up at the beginning.
Okay, let me go look at that. To that question, what PSU existing sponsors will be prohibited? I think I cannot cover that better than Sandy attempted to. You'd probably need to ask either your channel to Penn State if you already have a relationship as a sponsor or an associate, if you will. But I don't know about prohibited beyond that. There were some of those interference points you talked about. It's the Coke versus Pepsi is probably the most notorious kind of interference or frictional point. Beyond that, I can't opine for university or athletics.
Hey everyone. Well, we're almost at the end of time, but if staff want to pop in their email addresses, if you have any additional questions that you think of, our email is also listed on the website. And of course, Sandy's team had an email address as well. If somebody from her team wants to add that to the chat as well. Thank you everyone for joining us today and sharing your time with us. We hope you'll go visit the site, tell your friends, and start your profiles. Again, it's a very easy to use one-stop website beginning to end in the private sphere. Businesses and student talent can find each other and collaborate, and then they can publicize those events in the public sphere for all of us fans to go and see and make our plans accordingly. So again, we hope to see you soon on happyvalleytalent.com, and thank you all for joining us.
Thank you, Irene. And I would say as you're signing off, please tell friends, family, associates, whatever, about NIL and about this site. So again, have them go to happyvalleytalent.com. Thank you to everybody that's been a resource to us and for us on this. I see some on screen, but again, thank you so much for your help. And let's make this a site a success and the NIL support of the community a success as well.